teachers and our students in our school districts. I share my concerns, share the concerns of my colleagues, particularly from New York City, vis-a-vis yet to be completely understood language regarding charter schools. It actually is disturbing to me that on the day we are passing a budget bill relating to language going forward with co-locations and rent obligations, no one can actually explain exactly how this will work. Neither the governor's people, nor the city of New York, nor anyone who I've chatted with who's actually read and reread the budget language when it comes to how the disputes will be resolved, what will be the future obligations of the city of New York vis-a-vis perhaps additional charters. I think every school child deserves the best education in a quality location. But speaking for New York City, our schools are already at 95% capacity, and the schools in my district are actually at, you can see the numbers in the blue books, 115, 125% of capacity. So when you talk about wanting to add additional schools with co-location, without the ability of the city of New York to say this isn't going to work, does it worry me? It worries me. And the fact that the language here in the budget bills don't really give us a clear-cut explanation of how we're going to deal with it, that creates a real concern for me.
Yeah.
Read the last section.
Section 3 of the statute take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, DeFrancisco, Klein, Libous, Skelos, Stewart, Cousins, Zeldin.
Announce the results. Senator Gibson to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to support this bill. One of the things that I'm just very happy to see in there is that the thing that so many of us have advocated for, which is to eliminate the standardized testing for pre-K through second grade, I think is a huge step forward. We know that at such an early age, we should not be trying to standardize our young children's minds. We should inspire them to be individuals, to reach their maximum creativity. That's how we're going to come up with new ideas and new products in the future, and I am so happy to see this eliminated so that our kids at an early age can reach their maximum creative potential. And I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Senator Gibson to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Relation to calendar 373, those recorded in the negative are Senators Hoylman, Kruger, Montgomery, and Senator Kruger in the affirmative. Senators Hoylman, Montgomery, and Perkins. Ayes 58, nays 3.
The bill is passed.
Mr. President, if Senator Klein would continue to yield.
Senator Klein yields.
Yes, I have a particular question for you, Mr. President, on the language that says, I want to see if you could help me define what is supposed to, when it says that the Department of Health is supposed to consider, quote, the physical characteristics and social fabric of such community, unquote. What exactly does that mean, particularly the term social fabric? I'm not sure I understand what that means.
That would apply to what I said earlier. You know, a lot of times they would bring, you know, sort of a ambulatory care center or something like this into a community, and they would need to identify really the need in the community. Who are you targeting? What population? You know, I think as economics go, I understand why Montefiore is proposing this. You know, they rely very heavily on Medicaid dollars. I think they're the largest Medicaid recipient in the United States. And they're trying to tap into a market that is private pay and Medicare. Makes sense. But again, they should be able to have to show that there is a need for that type of facility here. I think that's probably the easiest burden or hurdle that any potential healthcare institution should have to meet. I think the more serious ones are the height, the density, the traffic, and things of that nature.
And just my last comment on this budget, certainly I'm deeply concerned that we're not addressing additional issues around HIV and AIDS. I wanted more money in the educational facility, more outreach to be done in certain communities, even though there you know, we're talking about the fact that there are almost no cases of, new cases of transmittal of HIV by mothers through breast milk, but we are having a continued increase among young girls. Ages 12 to 22 continues to be a major issue and a concern, and a lot of that is because we're just not doing as much as we need to be doing in our, in one of Senator Velmanette Montgomery's favorite things is our school-based clinics. We're not expanding them, we're not funding them at the level that they could and should, because we're not teaching our girls particularly about sensuality and their own sexuality. We're afraid to do it in the home because parents are not educated to do it, or whatever their reasons, and we're prohibiting our institutions from doing it. So there has to be a point at which we help to do something different, because I am concerned about the numbers of young girls who continue to, and pregnancy today is the least of their concerns. But certainly other transmitted diseases are continuing to be a major issue, and we're not addressing that in a wide, broad public policy in the way that I think it ought to. So I appreciate, Senator Hannan, the extensive work that you've done in this budget, and I can appreciate that, but those are just some of the concerns that I needed to share in terms of my concern about where we need to be looking as we go down the road. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to briefly explain my vote, as I said earlier, I think that there's a lot of very positive things in this budget bill. Just a couple of things I didn't point out before, certainly, as we talked about early intervention. I certainly thank everyone who fought to make sure that that was in the budget. That was a very positive thing. Also, the private equity provision, which something that was rejected, was something that we in the Democratic Conference certainly thought that needed to be out of the budget, and it was, and that was a positive thing. Also, we have, as Senator Hannan mentioned, we have doctors across New York. We have $2.5 million for physician loan program and the physician practice support. This is something that we also supported. I just thought it was necessary to stand up for a second and say that those are things that were also in this budget and I think are positive overall, and that's why I will also be voting in the affirmative. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Rivera to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 61.
The bill is passed. Announce the results.
Ayes 27.
The ruling of the chair stands. Senator Gianaris?
Mr. President, I believe there is a final amendment at the desk for the night. I ask that the reading of that amendment be waived and that Senator Kruger may be heard on the amendment.
My amendment to the budget bill is germane because it does not unreasonably expand the object of the underlying bill, maintains the same purpose, and addresses the same areas of law. This amendment that I offer today would add $340 million for allocations to cities, towns, and villages in the Aid and Incentives for Municipalities Program, or AIM, under local government assistance in this appropriations bill. The AIM program is a property tax relief program that has a proven history of success in the state, and when sufficiently funded, effectively suppresses the growth of municipal property tax levies. Under my amendment, AIM funding would increase by nearly 43% over current funding in the next fiscal year, providing $140 million more to the cities, towns, and villages outside of New York City, and $200 million to New York City. As we know, AIM funding has been flat or reducing for several years. AIM funding has provided significant municipal property tax relief. Since local governments across the state are under immense fiscal stress due to unfunded mandates, the aftermath of the Great Recession, a declining property tax base, and now a 2% cap on property tax levies, growth in AIM funding is more critical now than ever.
This bill's focus in terms of campaign financing is on establishing this pilot program for matching funds.
No, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Yeah.
As I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
On the bill, Senator Squadron.
On the bill, Mr. President. And it's interesting that when we're talking about the very small number of heavily invested, deeply pocketed individuals and entities that contribute the lion's share of dollars to candidates for election in this state, instead what we get is distraction. Because the truth is We have a huge problem in this state. We have some of the most lax campaign finance laws in the country. We have contribution limits that shock individuals across the state when they learn about them. We have a system and a culture where a very, very small number of folks even participate in order to help elected officials raise dollars. And we have loopholes like the LLC loophole that let individuals, through a pretty simple mechanism, literally contribute unlimited sums to candidates in this state. We need better enforcement of the Board of Elections, and we agree on that. And let's just be clear. We agree. That's positive. It's good. The reason we need to talk about this is you have a governor, a state assembly majority, and members of both the minority and the majority in this House that support doing something about the absolutely shameful campaign finance system that we have in this state, and yet we don't have a chance to vote on that in this budget. And I appreciate Senator Valesky requesting more hostile amendments in this process, but as he points out, all 6 of those hostile amendments have not only failed, they've failed to even get a vote on the substance of the matter. And this is not an issue where we need to raise the question again. It is an issue where we need a result.
The question was, and I'm afraid to say I think you might not be have standing answered either, but question was, in the room in which these negotiations were ongoing, which was the party that was opposed to expanding this beyond just the Comptroller's office?
Well, you know as well as anyone does that you negotiate with an object and you to try to attain some goal, and those negotiations in many situations are private negotiations, so no one is unduly blamed for one position or another. I can tell you quite candidly, I personally was in some of the discussions, and I'll tell you, I would not have necessarily done a pilot. There was a difference of opinion on many people. Each person in this room may have a different position, but to suggest who took this position or another, different people in each conference would have different answers to that. So the Senator Valesky mentioned that there'll be additional negotiations. If people start pointing fingers that this person wouldn't do this person wouldn't do that, the level of trust to try to reach a result, I think, would be hurt. And so, and plus, it's irrelevant.
So you're saying that what this would do is extend Startup New York to correctional facilities and then connect it to an educational institution's property? I still don't understand. I'm sorry.
Mr. President, the Startup New York proposal was really initially limited to certain properties that were either on university grounds or adjacent to them or whatever. This does not apply to all correctional facilities. It applies to those that are subject to closure so that it gives a better opportunity as long as they affiliate whatever their business is through a university. It's kind of a stretch.
MG New York Architects and one of my associates. As you're aware, we were here, I'm going to say last summer. The prior application was for an eating and drinking establishment. That tenant has backed out of the deal. A new tenant has come in, and it is a cosmetics store, beauty products. And I actually brought for the board's use one of their what they call pitch books. It's called Rain. It's a chain of stores that were started in South Africa. We have several stores here in New York and across the U.S. If I may, the building is situated on the corner of Amsterdam and 74th. The only historical photograph available at Landmarks was poorly. It's the best photograph we could get, but you can see that this is the area in question on the ground floor, and our store terminates with this feature window in the store. And you can see that the sign band across the top pretty much extends to the underside of the windowsills. And in the existing condition, which presently we have cut it up as part of our probes, so it's not even It's even uglier than it is in this photograph.